Mr. President.
Senator from Michigan.
Mr. President, I, along with my Senate colleague from Michigan, Mrs. Slotkin, are heartbroken and appalled to stand here today as we grieve yet another tragedy in our home state of Michigan. On Sunday, Grand Blanc Township experienced unimaginable violence when a gunman drove his car into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, fired gunshots at the members of the congregation, and then started a massive fire using gasoline that destroyed most of the church building. This was shocking, it was horrific, and it was a violent attack on a quiet and peaceful community. There are now families whose loved ones will never return their call, never hug them back, and never sit by their side as they practice their faith. I'm devastated to share the ages of these individuals that ranged from just 6 years old to 78 years old. I simply can't imagine the agony that their families are now experiencing. There are also 8 other victims who remain in critical condition in the hospital, with their families waiting anxiously by their side. My thoughts are with them as we hope and pray for their safe recovery. This was the kind of horror that you don't want to believe is even possible in our world, let alone in our own community. But unfortunately, this is not the first time that I've stood at this podium after senseless acts of violence devastated parents, siblings, children, friends, and neighbors in my state. That's why a part of me feels this terrible sadness today for the pain and loss that was inflicted upon Grand Blanc Township and the greater community. But I also feel just immense outrage, because there are no words to describe the pain and the devastation and confusion you experience at these moments. Pain for the senseless loss of life, devastation for the sense of fear that no matter how hard we work to heal, this despicable act has shattered this quiet community. And our utter confusion as to how someone could have the capacity to inflict this kind of evil. We know that our nation is plagued by an epidemic of gun violence. More than 100 Americans will die from gun violence each and every day in our country. We also know that there has been a rise in violent threats and deadly attacks targeting churches, synagogues, mosques, and other houses of worship in communities all across our country. We cannot allow these patterns of violence to continue. We cannot simply accept these attacks like it's another normal day. It is not. And despite what people may tell us, there's far more that unites us than divides us. Now more than ever, we need to come together and hold each other up. And once we have grieved, we must work together to find solutions that will prevent this kind of tragedy from devastating more communities. It's certainly past time to enact sensible gun reform and ensure that every American can practice their faith without fear for their lives. It is certainly past time to take the temperature down on our politics, a growing sickness that has undoubtedly contributed to the rise of polarization and hate-fueled violent attacks across our country. The bottom line is that the time to act is now. There is simply no other option. I want to once again share my deepest condolences for the families and loved ones of the victims of this absolutely horrific attack. My heart breaks for the entire community and everyone that has been impacted by this catastrophic event. I also want to thank the law enforcement and emergency personnel who responded immediately to this harrowing scene. In fact, 2 law enforcement officers engaged the shooter in less than a minute. And as a result, there is no question that countless lives were saved. Their profound bravery and heroism can never be forgotten, as well as a courageous community members who acted quickly to shield women, children, and the elderly from gunfire. And finally, I want to thank the numerous local, state, and federal agencies who have stepped in to support the victims and their loved ones and ensure a thorough investigation is carried out. Mr. President, Michiganders are tough. Michiganders are resilient. But most importantly, they're kind. And on Sunday, that kindness showed through as we saw so many people race to help in the aftermath of this appalling attack. As we remember the victims, and as we remember their loved ones and the community members who are still grieving, I hope those actions not only provide some form of comfort, but also show that heroism and kindness in the face of unspeakable tragedy is truly who we are as Americans.